Hi, everybody. Now's the time to thank our wonderful teachers. This has been a great year. Give them a hand, would you? We've got some wonderful thank you videos for you. If you will please take a look at our very wonderful class member attendees who volunteered to tell us how much they loved each class. The first one is about pirates, taught by Judith and Leonard Turney. I'll tell you what I liked. Talk about adventure. They covered Hollywood pirates. They covered fiction pirates. They even covered real pirates. It was phenomenal. It was going into an aspect of our culture and history that we'd never even thought of going before. So it was really an eye-opening adventure for me. Take it away, Gerhard.
We're here with Linda Knight and Roger Williams to talk about a terrific class that we just got out of on the life and works of Alfred Hitchcock, taught by Judith and Leonard Turney. And we're here also with Roger Williams. They're going to tell us what they really got out of taking this class and what the best takeaways were. Let's start with you, Linda. What have you gotten out of this class? And talk about interesting facts about Alfred Hitchcock to you.
Well, I've been attending Judith and Leonard's classes for lots of years, and we've covered many interesting subjects. And this year, I thought it would be fun to do Alfred Hitchcock, so I suggested that subject to Judith, and I have not been disappointed.
Thank you. The idea came from you. That's just terrific. And what has been a major takeaway for you from having studied him more?
Well, I'm learning about the silent era of the movies. I enjoyed watching The Lodger, which I had seen before. But anyway, I wanted to learn about what Alfred Hitchcock did in his early days in London, and we're doing that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And how about you, Roger? What has been your biggest takeaway or benefit from having gone to this class?
This is the first time I've been in this class, and wanted to come because I'm a big Hitchcock fan, and I have used Hitchcock clips and many movie clips in my time as a middle school English teacher, teaching different reading processes. And so, in fact, I used a clip from Saboteur of a fall from the Statue of Liberty, and then the famous fall in Rear Window, for students to see how they were alike, how they were different, and analyze. And so that was useful. And in this class, we're seeing how Hitchcock used different things over and over in his many films, and it's fascinating. I appreciate the class and the teachers. Thank you.
Well, it's sure genius to be watching a man like Hitchcock at work. Thanks very much. Together with Lorraine and Tal Huber, and they've just come out of the most fascinating class taught by Camille Olson about women of the Bible. And we'll start with Lorraine and ask, what is the main takeaway that you have after coming to this class?
Well, I think it's been really fascinating and very interesting. I own her book, and I have read, I just got it this last Saturday, and I read on Sunday about Eve, and I was really fascinated by what she said in her book about Eve. And also I wanted to tell her how much we've enjoyed the classes. They've been so fascinating, and her presentation is so wonderful and vivacious.
Well, she's very organized, and she knows her stuff. She's probably one of the key scholars in this particular area of women in the Bible.
And another thing too, the paintings in her book done by that artist are just absolutely wonderful. I do paint myself, and that when I saw those pictures, they were just gorgeous. I appreciate the book so much and her presentation. We are very blessed to have her teach us.
Well, I enjoy her sense of humor.
Yes, she's funny at times. It's wonderful to have her here and as our teacher, especially in this area of extreme specialty and expertise. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We're here talking with Myrna Lear and Jill Henry about our wonderful class that we just got out of, taught by Lawrence Blomquist, about music through the ages, all about Mozart today. Incredible. And we're going to start off with Jill and ask Jill why she took this class and what are the best takeaways or benefits from having gone to a class on fine music.
I have always loved music. My dad was a singer, and he performed at many church funerals and dedications of chapels. And I'm a descendant of Welsh people that love music very much. And I had the opportunity at BYU to live in Salzburg, Austria for 6 months. It was a BYU study abroad program. So it was fun to hear more details about Mozart, because that is his birthplace, and that's where he spent most of his life, was Salzburg, Austria.
And what do you like best about his music?
I love the idea that it crescendos and it gets very dramatic and loud, and then it softens way down into this very peaceful, kind of a tranquil part of his music. And the fact that he was an absolute genius is fascinating to hear how young he was when he was creating and composing. Like age, was it 5?
5.
When he did his, and he only lived to be what, 37?
39.
39?
Yeah.
So he's just a genius, and it was very fascinating today.
Thank you. And how about you, Myrna? Why have you taken this class, and what do you like about its teacher and the subject?
I enjoyed the class so much because it brought in other things that were pertinent to the time, like the art, and it discusses some of the aspects of art as well as that of music. But when I learned more about Mozart's life, I couldn't believe he was so young and that he died so young and was so prolific with the period of time that he worked. And his music is so beautiful. I thoroughly enjoy good music, even though I'm not a musician.
Thank you. Hi, we're here with Dion Roof and Jerry Bushell, and they're going to be talking about the greatest things that they get out of going to worthwhile reading out of the best books by Judy and Ernest Istick. And let's start with you, if that's all right, Dion.
I can't say enough about the book review class. The books have been carefully chosen, books about overcoming challenges, tender human interest stories, history, adventure. Add to that mix presenters who know and love the books being discussed, class members who share their insights. What a winning combination.
That's great.
And we get to do it again next semester.
I know. Thank you. And how about you, Jerry?
Dion has said it all. I'm particularly interested in this because they've selected titles that I ordinarily wouldn't have picked up to read, except for the one about Joan of Arc. Now, last week we did a book called A Certain Thread, and I was so touched by the presentation, I went home and read the book, and I was deeply affected by it. It's very, very tender and real. Now, the story of Joan of Arc has been an almost lifetime interest of mine from time to time. And reading the book, I found out I knew very little about her, and I thought I knew a lot about her. So it has been very enlightening. The whole experience has been enlightening.
Well, thank you so much, both of you. We'll look forward to seeing you next semester. We just got out of Judy and Ernest Istook's wonderful class on worthwhile readings. And we're going to ask Cheryl Jacob what she gets out of this particular class and why bother coming to a class where you could be at home reading all by yourself. What are the advantages of coming to an ElderQuest class? 4 books to analyze. Tell us what you think, Cheryl.
I really love to be with other people who are reading the same book, and we are sharing our ideas why we like this book. And it's stimulating, but the best part for me is watching, in this case, the couple interact with each other, and their enthusiasm and even their charity in coming to teach us that they would be so give of their time like this. And what I feel like is we're becoming friends. We are getting to know each other, and we are doing something with our aging that is stimulating and helping us to be have purpose in our days.
Great. Anything about any particular book that you can remember that's been impactful to you?
You're talking to a person who collects books, recently had to give them up because I don't have room for them anymore, but that doesn't stop me from buying books. And what I found is that in this experience, which is just days old, is that the reason it was difficult to part with my books is because of my love and what they have meant to me in my life. And so to come with like-minded people and these wonderful teachers who will share their expertise and is just such high quality, I wouldn't miss it.
It's a priceless experience. Thank you, Cheryl. With Carrie Gahn and Karen Manning, who are going to be telling us about the major takeaways that they have from taking Robert Griffith's class and Jeannie Griffith's class. Let's start first with Carrie. Carrie, can you tell us what is the major thing that you get out of attending these classes, especially the one taught by Robert Griffiths, which is Issues of Our Times?
I have learned so much about the economy and finances in general. My big takeaway is, why didn't I learn this years ago? Because I would have done things differently in my lifetime. And I know it's a different time and age, but I'm wanting to take the class to help my children and grandchildren, help them know what they should do with their finances and just other things. And the trends that have been happening over the ages and in our country is just kind of phenomenal to learn about the history of it all. And I've gained so much, just insight. And I thank you, Robert, for it. I just appreciate all your volunteer work that you've done for us. To just come here every week without being paid, and we get excited as older folks to come and learn more and more and more and more, and make our older years a time of learning and an advancement in learning. Also about Jeannie, forgive me. I am an avid traveler. I have lived all over the world, and it has been so fun to listen to you and your excitement for the places you have visited. And I am so excited to learn about Antarctica because I'm going there next in January. And so to prepare me to enjoy it even more, thank you for that. But also to reflect back on the places I've lived and I've gone to, and how it has enhanced my life so much as it has yours and Robert's, and the travel, and how much it has meant to you and how much it also has meant to me, and just have the knowledge of so many countries and lands. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carrie. Now we have Karen. Tell us about the feelings you get for having attended Jeannie's class on cultural geography.
Well, Jeannie's geography class is the reason why I joined ElderQuest, or I go to ElderQuest, because it's pretty much one of the only classes I go to sometimes. And I love geography, I always have, but I'm thinking there's so much more, there's always more to learn. And so it really blows my mind. Like today, talking about Antarctica, that's one of the continents I've hardly studied at all, so I'm excited to learn about that. But I'm just in awe of, I just go, my mouth is like, and I have so many questions and comments that I know I can't really say. But she's excited, she's learned so much, and she's been all these places, and I'm just glad to be able to go, and it really is a fun thing to do. So thank you a lot for doing
Okay, thank you, Karen, and that's it. We're here today with Lynn Lewis and Cindy Lewis, who've just come out of Charlene's nice class on cryptocurrency, which is really enlightening all of us. And I'd like to start off with Lynn to tell us what he's been able to get out of coming to this class. What are the best takeaways and the best value that you've gotten from listening to Charlene Brown talk about cryptocurrency, something so new in our world today? Go ahead.
We were introduced to the cryptocurrency world by our kids. Our daughter bought some mining computers, and our son invested as a day trader, speculated. And both of them had interesting experiences, and we knew nothing about it. And they tried to talk to us about it, and we had no clue. We didn't talk their language even. I didn't even get any clue whatsoever. So when this class came up on the Elder Quest schedule, it alerted my attention. So we've been attending the last few weeks, and the things that are fascinating to me is how big and how varied cryptocurrency is, bigger than my wildest imagination. How many different forms it can take. It can be a technology, it can be an asset, it can be a currency, it can be a force, it can be an income. It's paid like Mark Cuban and the Mavericks in basketball pays his employees in Bitcoin. So it's very varied. And then the other thing that is interesting to me is how independent it is. Charlene, the instructor, said today that it's the wild, wild west. It almost runs itself. It's almost like artificial intelligence, where it evolves into what it needs to be effective. And I think that's fascinating in that the large banking institutes and the government are not able to control it. And they're all trying to figure out a way that they can skim some kind of cream off the top of the cryptocurrency world so that they can make their own money and taxes and controls and things. And they haven't been able to do that yet because it's so independent, and there's millions and millions and millions of people involved, and they can't throughout the world, and they can't control everybody. So that's fascinating to me because, and especially when countries like El Salvador actually uses cryptocurrency and Bitcoin as their national currency. They pay one another and pay goods and services within their country, and it's recognized by the country. That to me really raises a red flag in how other countries are going to use it, and how they're going to regulate it, and how they're going to deal with the energy situation, which uses a lot of energy. And so it's just a fascinating, almost an amoeba of growth and versatility and creativity that fascinates me. And I'd like to know more about it and possibly invest in it, because it's anti-inflation, It's somewhat like real estate, and a limited amount of Bitcoin, for instance, is being mined, and we not going to make any more. So it's just like land, and so it's different even from gold, because they make more gold and put it into the market, but Bitcoin, they don't. And so it has so many different avenues of interest that I want to know more about it and possibly invest in it and learn more. So I'm grateful for Charlene for introducing me to this cryptocurrency class.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. That was a brilliant summary, and we all learned from that. Yes, today was really interesting because it was clear as to how many different ways it's being used. And how about you, Cindy? What have you gotten out of this?
Wow, I think you pretty much covered everything, but I just wanted to attend the class, like you said, because there's just so much instability in the dollar right now, and with our retirement funds, we're looking for ways to try to protect the assets that we have, so that we and the computer age is just so something we're not used to, something we did not grow up with, and so hard for people our age to understand in some ways, that it's been really helpful to understand, even though it's so above our head and overwhelming, but it really helped to understand this blockchain and how that relates, because I hear all those words, but I really didn't understand how they connect, and so it's been very enlightening.
Well, great. Thank you very much. We are together with Mickey Cote and Dave Johnson, and we've just finished another terrific class taught by George Tate about the Great World War I. And I'm just going to ask each one of them, what is the number one takeaway that you have gotten by coming to this class? How do you really feel that you have benefited greatly? And let's start with you, Dave. Can you tell me what you've got out of this?
For me, it's personalized the war. Instead of being just an event in history, it's real people involved in real events. It's brought it home to me that way.
Okay, thanks. And you, Mickey, what do you think has been the biggest reward?
I agree with David. It does personalize the war. It does personalize it. You feel it. You feel the foxholes, the trenches, whatever went on. You feel the wet, the cold, the sadness, the missing of their families. You feel the death. You feel all of this. I mean, his class is terrific. It makes you think, it makes you feel, it makes you come into reality that this actually existed. It wasn't just something you hear. It is something that did exist.
And I like what he did today in the fact that it carries off into other things such as ballet and music and art that we never usually think about. We kind of see them as all separate disciplines.
That's so true. I used to teach art history, and I never once connected the war with Bauhaus, with Cubism, with any of this. So this tied it together, and it made it much more powerful.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. We just came out of the most fascinating class on legal issues by Alex Ludlow, and we were given a dumbfounding case to figure out what a jury would do, and hopefully by next week we'll all get some kind of answer that sounds reasonable. And we're here with Gail and Clint Gronicott, who have come together, and they're animated like all the rest of us are. But I'd like to ask Gail to tell us why she relates to this class so well, and what did she get out of it, and what are the major benefits and takeaways from Alex Ludlow's class?
Well, I have been really fascinated with like the history of law, and I didn't have a lot of background, although I had civics class in high school and learned some basics, but very little about how the law system came to be. So that's been really fascinating. And it's especially fascinating because Alex is a fabulous teacher.
Yeah.
He could probably teach something I wasn't at all interested in, and I'd like it, because he really is a gifted teacher.
Yes.
But he's willing to look at both sides of things, laughs about our sort of foibles in life, and makes it really accessible to everyone. I think he's been a fabulous teacher, and I can't wait till next week when we have our jury trial.
Thank you. How about you, Clint? What do you get out of this one?
Well, I really enjoy him as a teacher. He's very interesting, and I would certainly come to classes that he would teach again in the future if he chooses to do so.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi, now we've got Pat Schneider and Toby Cantwell, and they're going to tell you what the best takeaway was for them each after having taken Neil Lambert's class on Abe Lincoln and the American Spirit. You go first, Pat, would you?
Well, I'm glad to read some of his speeches. The only one I have ever heard, of course, is the Gettysburg Address that we had to learn in school, which I think is beautiful. So I am really glad to learn what was on his mind and how he expressed himself and how eloquent he was. It's wonderful to get to know Abraham Lincoln.
Thank you, that's wonderful. And Toby?
Yes, I think his speeches were all aimed at people. He wanted them to think in their minds what was right and what was wrong, and to make choices that then affected our nation and what happened in America.
Thank you, Toby, and thank you, Pat. This came out of a wonderful class taught by Neil Lambert on Uncle Tom's Cabin. And Stuart and Suzanne Slingerland are here to tell you what they think about having attended this class and what the major benefits are and thinking and takeaways. And let's start with Suzanne. Tell us why you took this class and what you're getting out of it.
Well, I took it because, one, I really like literature. I'm an old English teacher myself, and I love literature, and I love Neil Lambert's way of helping us to think more clearly about characters and about people and the way they grow and they feel, and about how hard and also good their lives could be. And this is really, Uncle Tom's Cabin is actually quite painful to read, but the discussion brings out the richness and the beauty of the novel.
Yes, I think so. And how about you, Stuart? What are you getting out of this?
Well, I think it really displays the value of individuals, of people, that we're all the same. It doesn't matter what color our skin is, and it's very upsetting that in the past our history is not good in the way we've treated people of other races sometimes. And so today we've learned a lot about that, and I think we're better.
And is there anything about the style of Neil Lambert's teaching that you appreciate?
Well, yes, I mean, that's why we're at the class. He clearly, today he said that it was one of his favorite novels, but I think it's because it's painful, and he approaches it from this really warm-hearted view of the characters. He mentioned today that they were one-sided, and I thought that was interesting, or that they don't seem to grow, and I felt that I had felt that differently about that. I think that they do grow. I've seen changes in the characters as I've been reading. Not specifics, I can't think of them right now.
So it's deeply human.
It's really deeply human. It is.
Well, thank you very much. With Jerry Bushell and Linda Tyler, and they're going to tell you what their best takeaway was about the Enjoying Shakespeare class taught by Dave Johnson. And we were covering the play All's Well That Ends Well. So let's go with you first, Jerry. What did you get out of taking this class?
Well, first of all, introducing me to Shakespeare. I have not studied Shakespeare in the past. I think I remember many, many years ago one class, but I've not pursued Shakespeare. And getting into the stories and reading the plays with the group and introducing interpretations has just made a very profound experience for me.
Well, thank you. And you, Linda, what have you gotten out of it?
Well, Shakespeare's words have been a joy of my life. And so for me to be in the class and be able to hear those words, speak those words, is very meaningful. And I also appreciate the way Dave adds to it and clarifies things.
Yes, thank you so much, and we'll see you again. Here with Jerry Bushell and Grace Barrett, right after another rip-snorting class of Shakespeare. And we're here to ask what the main takeaways are and best benefit from having come to this Shakespeare class with our wonderful instructor, Dave Johnson. Let's start with you. Should we first? Grace?
Yes, Dave is a wonderful teacher because he explains little things that we would never get. Things that like courage today, and the words they use are so different. But what is wonderful is that Dave, I've been going to his class for probably 10 years, and he's a very likable person, and he was president of Elder Quest, which you ought to know.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, and how about you, Jerry?
I appreciate the class for the same reasons that Grace has. The language of Shakespeare, to me, is quite obscure, and so I do need those explanations. And oftentimes I will think I've figured it out, and no, I didn't have the right interpretation. So I appreciate being with the group and reading through the plays together and working for the phrases that, trying to get the phrases the way they should be so they're meaningful.
Okay. Any other comments you'd like to add?
I would like to say Shakespeare is so inventive, and the beauty of the creativity that he has in all his plays are so different. He's just a marvelous, marvelous writer. And there are other things I could say because I feel so good about the class.
One more thing. His works lend themselves to many different interpretations. And Dave mentioned today that Shakespeare leaves the directing and the acting up to the directors and actors for their interpretation of his plays.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
so we can see it in one place, and in another place it's different.
Okay, thank you very much. Here we are with Chaley and Jean West, and we've just come out of the class taught by John Nebeker, and it's about the world and I. Today we had a rousing class on China. But let's ask Chaley what she thinks is a big takeaway or a major benefit for having taken this class.
Well, first of all, I have to let you know that I have a son in China. He's the Air Force attaché to the embassy there, and I'm really concerned for his safety. So I like to know everything that I can know and that I can learn about China. And John has done a wonderful job explaining what the situation there is.
Thank you.
And I like the up-to-date
information he gave us, that things are happening right now. And it really has opened up my eyes and understanding about the world.
Thank you. We just got out of John Nebaker's collectible class, which was really a lot of fun. We spoke about Disneyland and all of the perils of getting that wonderful establishment started. And we're here with Pat Schneider and Sharon Bird, and we'll start with Pat. Tell us why you took this class and why you get here, and you even brought some of your own things to show us. But what is the best benefit of taking a class on collectibles?
Well, I think for one thing, John is so positive and he's so fun. He really is. I didn't really realize all the things that people will collect and on how fascinating the things that they do. I've learned a lot. I mean, all the prices for the baseball cards and how much they charge for that baseball signed by Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio, and all cars, you know, rich people who own, I don't know, hundreds of cars or whatever. Anyway, I just think it's fun, and I really enjoyed Disney. Well, everybody loves Disney. That was fun today.
That really was. And how about you, Sharon? What brings you to this so early in the morning, and you're always there with a big smile on?
He knows what he's talking about for sure, and he knows the best junk.
Yes.
Stores in the neighborhood, around, and he says one person's trash is another person's treasure, and some of those baseball cards were in the millions of dollars, although he said most of them aren't more than $15, but the program on Disney was really interesting, and he even played the song Wish Upon a Star was just beautiful. But I really love Mickey Mouse all my life.
Oh, me too. Oh,
we all do.
And Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Mama took me to see that one when I was little. It scared me to death. And with that witch. And let's see. And Goofy. Goofy was on our kitchen wall next to the seven steps of good food, triangle. They had Goofy with that one, just make us want to follow the food
pyramid.
Well,
thank you. That is fun, and we'll never outgrow Disney, I don't think, or collectibles. Thank you. Are with Nancy Allen and Janet Harmon, who are going to tell you what the best takeaway or the best benefits were to attending Don Norton's class about the life of Hugh Nibley. Let's start with you, Nancy. What is your major takeaway for having come to this class?
It's a motivator for me to read the things that I have at home, some of which I've read, some I'm currently reading, and it inspires me and encourages me to go beyond what I have been doing already. I have learned things from Don's experience, his editing with Nibley's works, and it reminds me of the experience I had when I was in a class by Nibley, taught by Nibley.
Thank you. And how about you, Janet? What have you gotten out of this class?
I really enjoy Don's scholarship. He's a very well-read, intelligent man, and he believes what he's saying. He is completely committed to it, and I enjoy learning more from him about a wonderful man, Hugh Nibley, who is an incredible scholar himself.
Thank you. Here today with Mike Prisbilla, who has just come out of Don Norton's terrific class on temples with a focus on Hugh Nibley. And we'd like to ask him to tell us why he enjoys coming to this class with his good wife, but what is the big takeaway and what's the major benefit for you?
Well, for me, I've often said that the happiest day of my life was the day I graduated from college. And finish school. I was not a good student. One of the reasons was I was smarter than most of my teachers, and I made fun of them and found out that you not only got graded on your knowledge, but you got graded on your attitude. And it was a shock to me to find out that they graded on attitude. And but I have self-educated. I've read profusely, history, a lot on history, a lot on science. Anyway, my wife, who loved school, found out about Elder Quest and started going, and she was always encouraging me to come to class with her. But my feelings on school had not changed. But finally she convinced me to go to a few classes. I tried them. The only one that I was interested in was Don Norton, and because I found him to be very intelligent, and because of him, I've got all 19 of Hugh Nibley's books, and started reading through them. Some of them are very actually difficult to understand. So Don does help out quite a bit in explaining that. I'd like to say also that it's been marvelous for my testimony. I thought that, they actually called me a few years ago to teach in the primary, and I just started with the high priest, and I thought that when I got to be a high priest that it would be wonderful that all of these men who have been in the gospel their whole lives and had all these fantastic religious experiences, we would just sit around a table, and if the topic was on prayer, we would just share experiences on how prayer had changed our lives. And instead, it was just someone up there reading the manual, and it was boring, and so they called me to teach in the primary. I felt somewhat offended that I thought my intelligence was a little bit above that of 8-year-olds, but it turned out that it was the best calling I've ever had. The children were wonderful. They wanted to learn. They were excited to learn, and actually a few years later I mentioned to the bishop that my 8-year-old primary class was taught on a higher spiritual level than the high priest. And the bishop said, well, from what I hear, you're right. And so I enjoyed Don's intelligence. I enjoy his ability to share his many experiences, and I gravitate towards people with high intelligence, and so I really enjoy Don, and I enjoy his lessons on Hugh Nibley.
We're here with Grace Barrett and Cheryl Jacob to talk about Bruce Young's wonderful class on the Introduction to Shakespeare. And we'll ask them what the main benefit was for them and what the takeaway was that impressed them most. Let's start with you, Cheryl. Can you tell us what you got out of this class?
I have always wanted to understand Shakespeare, and so this is my first time getting into it. And what I see is that the teacher is very knowledgeable, and he loves it, and he allows us to think, and he helps us to bring out what we're getting out of it, that we understand.
Thank you. And you, Grace, what do you think about taking this class?
Well, my father was a Shakespearean student at BYU, and he really enjoyed it, and I didn't get one single thing until I started Elder Quest. Maybe a tiny bit from Dallin Oates' mother, but it made me realize what a wonderful time these teachers take in their lives to get to the very core of all of their experiences. It's just marvelous.
Thank you so much, both of you. Here we are with Ann Minear and Marie Mertz to talk about a major takeaway that they got out of taking Alan Keel's class, a very interesting one this semester, on the rite of passage about a teenager who went through captivity and all kinds of horrendous kinds of things when he was in the war during Nazi Germany. So let's start with Ann Minear. Can you tell us what a major takeaway was for you?
The major takeaway for me concerning this wonderful teacher is how much he loves the German people. And he loves the things he talks about. If it's a book or if it's the magic flute, which he taught a few times ago, he lets you know how he feels about these people and this musical piece in that case. And that comes across very strongly. And of course he speaks German very fluently. And I would take any class from him.
Oh, I don't blame you. Thank you. And how about you, Marie? What was it like for you?
This is one of my first years in Elder Quest, so I thoroughly enjoyed the class, number one, because of his German background and the fact that he loves Germany so much, and it does come across.
Mm-hmm.
And he liked, the love that he has for Ray Matheny, who wrote the book. And Ray himself, my goodness, what an author. I mean, it took me a while to get into the book because of the way he writes, but once you get used to the way he writes, it was fabulous. And I have this, I've always had this yearning to learn more about Germany and the war and such, ever since I was a little girl and first read Anne Frank and the one by, oh shoot, now I've forgotten her name. Anyways, but it's always been, and then I did serve a mission in Germany, and I do love those people. They are good people.
They sure are. Thank you so much. We're here today with Janet Harmon and Nancy Allen to talk about Alan Keel's fabulous class on the remarkable Heinrich von Kleist. And this is an interesting book that he reads and analyzes, and we talk about the history of Germany. But we'll start with Janet. Janet, tell us why you come to this class and what are the big benefits and what are the takeaways that bring you here?
I come because I am learning something new about Germany. I've never really known much about that language or the authors in Germany, so I appreciate learning more about them. I also really appreciate Alan's analysis of what we're learning. He sees a lot more than I would ever see.
Yes, we get a lot of background that way.
We do.
And Nancy, what brings you here?
Well, I enjoyed Alan's last class so much, and I thought, okay, I've never heard of von Kleist before. I've never done anything in German literature. This will be an eye-opener for me, which it is, and I am learning a lot, and it's nice to have Alan's background with the German language and his understanding of things that we wouldn't see even in the English reading because he's aware of other translations. It's been very informative, very uplifting, very edifying to read these short stories and learn more about German literature.
Okay, thank you.